It's 8 a.m. and it's the start of our first day. It's about 75 degrees out probably. Beautiful weather, and we are on the Swift Current Pass Trail. So we'll be covering hopefully I think about 7 or 8 miles today. And again, looks like beautiful weather for the first day. Here is the scenery and the group ahead. And our first river crossing looks to be a very easy one with a bridge. There's the first little waterfall we've encountered. Well, we're 30 minutes in and we're stopping for a quick break to adjust the packs and check out the scenery. That's again Grinnell Point, and not sure exactly at the moment which one that is, but it's pretty cool. And we just stopped by a little stream. But so far, we feel pretty good. Again, just 30 minutes in our average day today.
Oh, you just kind of walk. Right. Look at how clean that was. You know what? I sure wish I brought that big towel since we're in a lake 2 nights. Oh.
There's some falls over there in the background.
I get to dab myself.
This is just a little bit above Red Rock Falls. It's coming down from somewhere up there. Alright, it's 10 o'clock. We're still hiking up the Swift Current Creek. We'll have to do one more crossing of the creek before we begin the ascent up the pass. We're going right around here and up through there. I don't think we can see the pass. We're in another cool area where we've got waterfalls from the glacial melt all coming down and pooling down, feeding Swiftwater Creek. Still Swiftwater Creek down there. We're heading up the pass. Yeah. Well, it's 11:20 and we have made it almost all the way up the pass. We came up Swift Current Creek, which is down those you can almost kind of see the trail along the lake, and we came up and around, and now we're heading up the top of the pass. Well, we made it over the pass, and we've had a nice, easy descent down into the valley. I'm not sure which mountains these are at the moment. I'm sure we'll figure them out once we get to camp. But we're not too far. The ground's good, and it's already starting to warm up as we got off the top of the pass. But there's what the trail looks like right here. It's a little rocky overall, though it's pretty cool. Well, we made it to camp around 1:30. We're at Granite Park, and we've got our campsite set up. There's 2 tents, and right now our gear is just drying off, and then there's 3 other groups here, and there's a food prep area down there, which is where we're about to start. It's 5 o'clock now, so we're about to start cooking dinner. We've got a nice area tucked away. There's a nicer view if you go up a little bit, back up the mountain. There's more deer. Is that creeping around the campsite? Thinking it's gonna get food. Not getting any food here. Good morning. It's 8 o'clock on day 2, and we got about a mile under our belts. We're looking out over the valley. It's a little bit washed out probably on the video, but we're moseying along. We had a little bit of a climb, and now it's just like 7 miles of flat before we go over a little bit of more uphill. And then Ahern Pass is actually a stop we'll make along the way. It's 9 a.m. and we're hiking along the Highland Trail and the Continental Divide Trail. We've had shade from the mountain all morning and a pretty cool view, but the view's pretty similar. We just made it up Ayers Pass, and the last little bit was a horribly steep climb. We're all sweating bullets now, but just a little bit more to go over the pass. And there's also, it might be hard to see, a number of little mountain goats up here. Try to zoom in on them. Oh, something scared them. They're all running up the hill. So we're still up on Ayers Pass, looking down. It's hard to see probably on the camera, but looking down over Helen Lake, down in the valley. See if the goats are still there. They're moving up the mountain away from us. So we're a little over halfway to camp. We came up that trail right there, and then got to this. It was the first big glacier we had to cross, and it's pulling away from the side of the rest of the trail. So we made it all across, but a little interesting. There's a lot of water flowing under there, but thick enough to hold us. Well, it's the end of day 2, hopefully. There's the last view of that valley for now. We should be around 11 or 12 miles for the day. Well, actually around 11, and we'll hopefully end somewhere around 12 or 13. But we're almost to the top of this climb, or long, steep hike. It was just pretty nice and flat till right at the end. But we crossed a glacier, which is kind of neat, and we crossed a waterfall. Neither were too bad, but still added a little excitement to the trip. And again, we're gonna hopefully, in the very near future, start going downhill for the last mile or so to our camp. And this is the end of our day. Day 2, we made it from Granite Park down to 50 Mountain Campsite. The last bit of the trail was down the middle of that mountain, and then about probably a little less than a half a mile through this valley. The campsite itself is just over there. There's a number of mountains around the perimeter of the valley. We think that one up there is Cathedral Peak, which we'll be walking closer to tomorrow. We had about 12, a little over 12 miles today. We're looking to do 14, well, we are doing 14 tomorrow. This is the sun setting at 50 Mountain Campground. Alright, it's the start of day 3, and we're heading on the Waterton Valley Trail. We've got a 14-mile day.
Hey!
Ready, Steve? Alright, it's around 10 a.m. on day 3, and this is what the trail looks like right now. And it's looked like this for the past probably 3 miles, and we just passed some folks who said we've got a lot more of this. So pants and socks are soaked, The backpacks are starting to get wet, but the bright side is it beats sweating. That was so slippery. Well, after about 6 or 7 miles, we stopped here for a quick break, dry off our socks and boots a little bit, and cool down as we're hopefully finishing up Waterton Valley Trail. We came up that direction and we're heading up this direction. I think we're going to start cutting somewhere up the mountain, and I'm not really sure exactly where we're going from there, but this is a nice little break. 6 horrible miles or 7 horrible miles, we made it to Stony Indian Lake. We're just walking around it right now.
Wachichi Mountain.
We're about to head up Stony Indian Pass.
Wachichi Mountain. So what is it?
It's another view of Stony Indian Lake. One final view of Stony Indian Lake. And we're over Stony Indian Pass.
Steve hammered it. And it's 69:14.
Slow and steady.
We just finished up lunch at the Stony Indian Pass, and we've got a 5-mile descent down that way into camp. Alright, we are nearing the end of day 3. Over there is Glens Lake, and we're staying at the head of the Glens Lake campground. So we're probably about 13 miles in to the hike today. It was definitely our hardest and longest day. The total for today should be about 14 miles when all is said and done. And we've got a really cool waterfall that we are walking past right now. Stop for a second and get a quick shot of it. So we're doing some switchbacks down the valley towards the lake. Well, it's the end of day 3, and this is the farthest in we're gonna get. We're at the head of Glens Lake campground, and this is the head of Glens Lake. You can see the reflection of the mountains. It's a pretty still lake. Up there is the pass that we came over, and then walked. Actually, I don't know if that's the pass we came over, but we walked down where that waterfall is. There in the distance is the end of a brutal 15-mile hike. Now the sun's setting, the moon's out. There's a few other mountains that are surrounding our campsite, and my feet are destroyed, so we're getting ready to go to bed. And here's our campsite at Head of Glens Lake Campground, where we were attacked by deer our first night, and by attacked meaning they were grabbing our packs and sucking on the straps and trying to steal our boots. So we're keeping things a lot tighter, although we still got some stuff we're drying off right now. But there's been supposedly one deer roaming around the site earlier today, so hopefully it moved on, but just in case it comes back, we're going to be ready. This little guy's been wandering around camp. And it's the morning of day 4. Today we have about an 8-mile hike on very, well, relatively flat ground. We go up, I think, something like 800 feet and down 800 feet. So we're basically just walking from Glens Lake, passing another couple lakes, and we're staying at, I believe it's Elizabeth Lake tonight. But we got some tall brush again. But this morning it's not anywhere near as wet as it was yesterday morning. So far, a nice, easy walk. I'm guessing this is the top of Dawn Mist Falls. There's the guys looking out over the falls. This is on day 4. Getting near Elizabeth Lake. This is another view of our campsite at the foot of Elizabeth Lake. We rolled in. Here's our actual little campsite. We're hoping that this is enough protection to shield us from the deer tonight, who have been liking to come up and lick and or chew on our packs, hiking poles, and boots. But yeah, nice little area we got set up. We got to camp today around just right after noon. Had lunch, and then we've been actually just out hanging out on the beach. We went into the water for a little while, which is pretty nice after what now 4 long days of, or actually 5 the day before we left. 5 days of hiking to have some cold water. Relaxing, but everybody's sleeping right now on the beach. I just got up to do a little filming, and then I'm gonna head back out there. I think the sun's still really bright. I'm hoping that once the sun goes down a little bit more, I'll go back out into the water, try to get one more really cool panoramic view of the valley. We're here at Elizabeth Lake in Glacier National Park, and we're at the foot of Elizabeth Lake Campground. Up there is Ptarmigan Trail, and we'll eventually, somewhere near that glacier, there's actually a little tunnel that'll go through that ptarmigan wall, which I guess it's too hard to easily hike over that wall, so they made a little tunnel through the wall. So hopefully that'll be a fun part of the hike tomorrow. So here's one more view of Elizabeth Lake. And it looks like there's a stream leaving the lake and starting to flow that way. There's a little bridge to cross the stream here. But right now I'm standing in the water, and it's pretty cold still. The water's cold, but the sun's still out and the air's nice and warm, so it balances out. But just another view of one of the mountains looking over us. It's the morning of day 5, and we've got good weather. We've got a 10-mile hike. It's our last day in the park, our last day on the trail. So we've got 10 miles to head on out. The first 4.5 miles are all uphill, and then it's a smooth downhill on the way out. We didn't pack a lunch, so we're just snacking until we hit the car. So 1 hour into day 5 on our way, leaving Elizabeth Lake, the foot of Elizabeth Lake campground. Actually, if you look down the valley, this is the head of the lake. We started on the other side of the lake. So we're 1 hour in, we've done 2 miles and gained just about 1,000 feet of elevation. It's been nice weather, just enough clouds to block out the sun. And our goal is still, we're on the Ptarmigan Trail. I believe we are going to go up and over that glacier, and somewhere up there is the Ptarmigan Tunnel we'll be walking through. We're taking a little 10-minute break before we continue on up the trail. It's 9:15, we've been on the trail just over 2 hours. It's still the Ptarmigan Trail. We've got up there, across the ridge, and I think the actual opening of the tunnel's a little bit above what we thought before. My guess now is that's where the tunnel is. Hopefully the doors are open when we pass. But we still have awesome weather. We've got the mountain and clouds shading us from the sun. You can see the shade from the wall that we're hiking up. And again, there's the valley below and across the valley. There's, I don't know if we can see Holland Lake anymore. There's another glacier out in the distance. Here's what we got on this side, shielding us from the sun. There's Luke taking a break, and the other guys. Taking about 10 minutes before we hit the trail again. There's one more view of the tunnel through the Ptarmigan Wall. There's Mark. He stopped to do a little filming and picture taking. And our final, now is really our final view of Elizabeth Lake and this valley. There's again one more view of the campsite. We've hiked around the lake, up the back side of that, and then along the long, lazy ridge. We're approaching the tunnel. The doors are open. That's where we're headed. We're coming down. We just went through the Ptarmigan Trail. We stopped for a little bit, for a little break, put some sunscreen on, chatted some folks up, and now we're starting to pass the day hikers coming up the other direction. But we've got still some very nice views. The mountains, some lakes, some glaciers, and hopefully smooth downhill the rest of the way out of the park. Well, we're nearing the end of our trek and we're passing like 100 people on the trail, but there's Grinnell Point again in the distance. We should be about probably 1.5 miles to the car. There's the trail. Right now you can't get a sense of we've literally passed probably like 300 or 400 people. So we are out of the back country. One more view looking back from where we came from. At Grinnell Point again up there. And the trail ahead. Ready, Steve? Alright, well 5 days and 55 miles later, we made it back. We're back to the start. We had left down Swift Current Pass Trail, and we just came back from Ptarmigan Tunnel and actually Elizabeth Lake.